Welcome back to Buffalo Plus. Stan Fates. I'm Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe as you're watching this. Bills getting ready to take on the Ravens as we get ready for Sunday. The injuries. Once again, we got to talk about them. About 15 guys on the Bills injury report today. I felt like when Sean McDermott started his press conference and he rattled off all of the names, it was hard to even keep up with how many guys were out of practice or limited.
Yeah, it's 15. There's 53 players.
Yeah.
I'm not great at math.
Yeah.
But the percentage is a lot.
We're not going to do math.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's one of these things that, especially this early in the season, I think we've talked about the fact of handling adversity, whether it's outside noise or a play in the game or a call, or talked about, they talked about how they didn't want to use the heat in Miami as an excuse. Well, this is a big challenge. And I asked Sean McDermott, what's the message to the team trying to overcome losing Micah Hyde for the season, seeing a player carted off in an ambulance, all of these things, how does it weigh on you? And he said you have to rely on the environment that you've created. And I thought that was very telling of saying that, look, the house may be banged up and bruised, but it's still standing and we can rebuild it. And it will get healthy, we assume. I talked to Ed Oliver. He said that everything starts to feel better. He said that mentally it's tough. He said he's never really missed time before. Wow. So it's something new to him. And he said in the beginning he was kind of down, rehabbing, missing time. But he hopes to get back. Jordan Phillips is more week to week, Sean McDermott says. That's not day to day, which was a little surprising.
I was kind of surprised by that. But going back to your analogy, the house has good bones, which is kind of ironic because we're talking about injuries. But I agree with that. I think structurally this team has had a lot of success. We know the culture that is built. But this has been, like you talked about, adversity is a part of every NFL season. And I guess we just weren't expecting it to be like this. But there was a positive note.
Well, it's also the fact that we haven't had to deal with anything like this.
That's what I'm saying. It was just, when you think about it was Ken Dorsey, what will this team look like? All of these things. It wasn't, they're so beaten up that you have to go to your 16th corner.
Sure. And not only that, you go and look at years past. The injury report would be one guy and he'd be probable. Like now you're looking at guys that are not only not practicing, their game time decisions. And, like I said, I give Gabe Davis a lot of credit for gutting it out down there in Miami. Yeah. Mitch Morse wasn't able to go. Jordan Poyer wasn't able to go. Those two guys, massive losses to the psyche. I think that's a part of it. You start to see these injuries and I know every single person will talk about it. Do you know it's next man up in this league? You know it's next man up? It still weighs on you. It's a real thing.
It's the reality of the situation is you have to have depth because the injury report is going to happen and injuries are a part of the game. But yes, when you have a guy like Micah Hyde, what he represents to this team, be done for the season, and other players of that caliber, Jordan Poyer, obviously, guys like that not playing, Mitch Morse, that does take a hit to what you expect. And those new guys coming in, those guys in the safety, Poyer and Hyde have been back there for a long time for this Bills team. So there's a lot to go into that. But also at the same point, there was a bright moment of practice. Dane Jackson was back to practicing today in limited capacity. But still, this comes 9 days after he left the Monday Night Football game in an ambulance. You were on the field for that. It was a very scary situation. But you also got to talk to Jackson today, who said this is a blessing he's back out there.
Yeah, he was so happy, so giggly. It was really cool to kind of get those shots of, it seemed like it was like his first NFL practice. And I asked him, I go, how scary was it? He goes, pretty scary. Yeah. He goes, pretty scary. He goes, you wanted to move in the ambulance. He goes, I wanted to get up. He goes, but it's precautionary. So they strap you down. And he goes, I couldn't move. Yeah. Not because he physically couldn't, but because he wasn't able to. Yeah. And he goes, the uncertainty is a lot of scary things. He goes, once I knew that structurally everything was okay, he felt great. He said he couldn't wait to get back out there. I think it's a huge lift in the locker room to get, while Micah Hyde is a loss that Dane Jackson's not going to replace. You also lost Christian Benford for a couple of weeks with a broken hand. Yeah. I think just seeing him back, it was funny. I went up to ask DeMar Hamlin what it was like because they're very close from Pittsburgh, teammates in college and in high school. And he goes, Dane was so annoying today. He goes, I knew there were some good things that was going to happen. He goes, he knew that he was going to be able to practice. He was asked when he's ready to play. He said his soreness is leaving him. That's all that was really it was. But just the fact of no structural damage. He doesn't know if he'll be ready to go on Sunday. He said taking it one day at a time, said that he was wearing a red non-contact jersey today. Maybe tomorrow he gets out of it.
It is insane that no structural damage after a collision like that, to really only be dealing with soreness. And like you said, it's going to be, he's going to see how he wakes up and feels tomorrow. I don't know if I would pencil him in to have him play on Sunday, but just, you're right. The fact that, and what that can do for morale.
That's what I was thinking.
Morale and what that means for the team. And, you know, other players talked about it, Stephon Diggs. It's like, you're just grateful to see the guy out there. And the fact that he's already back to playing is just, it's awesome to see. And I think, like you said, you see Dane Jackson's you'll see snippets, and Dan posted some stuff on Twitter of just, you could tell how excited Dane was to take the field. And injuries are a part of the game, like we talked about, but obviously you got to love being out there to be out there.
And not only that, it was also Taryn, you know, because I kind of said too, the same sentence saying, it's great to have Dane back. Sucks to lose Christian, a guy that was a 6th-round pick that earned it. And he's like, man, it just seems like we can't catch a break. And like, so when you have, like, that's a real thought. That's not a cliche answer. But to get Dane back, to avoid serious injury, is very uplifting, I think, for the team.
Yeah, and Christian Benford going to be week to week with a hand injury. You're right. It's been weird. They've been snake bitten so far to start out the season in terms of that. But let's talk about this game getting ready for. You know, this is a Ravens team that the Bills have seen before, and everyone today was just talking about Lamar Jackson, the player that he is. And Von Miller said he should be the highest paid player in the league.
Yeah, and we've joked around, I think it was last time, that Von loves everything. Von loves Lamar Jackson, and he was pretty much acting as his agent to telling him that he should get paid. He should be the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League. Yeah. And it was also talked about how Lamar has evolved as a passer. I think people thought for the longest time he was very limited. I was one of them. Could you win a game with Lamar's arm? And Von talks about how he's developed, he's kind of put that stigma away. Yeah. But he says that he's a quarterback, but he can also run like a wide receiver, turn the corner like a running back, go down the field. Like, it's all of those things. He said, you know, he is one of a kind, and look, the Bills have held him in check, but that's a subjective term, and knowing that Lamar is always that one big play threat is very telling. Yeah,
and I think all the guys talked about that. Even Greg Rousseau was speaking about, and he's had some success in this second season, about how disciplined you have to be, because you can't just rush up the middle and expect to get Lamar. He's so quick, and he's so easily, once he gets out in the open, it's so hard to bring him down. So that's definitely going to be a challenge for this Bills team going forward. And then we also talked a little bit about just what this past Sunday, the loss, and what it meant to this team. And Josh Allen, I asked him, like, what can you learn from a game like that? And he's like, we just need to capitalize on the opportunities, situational football, and really the execution aspect. And he's like, I'm happy it happened in week 3. I'm not happy it happened at all, but if it's going to happen, week 3.
I think that was the most surprising thing about the lack of execution in situational games. That is where Sean McDermott, I think, is usually right on it, knowing what situation, what to do. They practice it. They rep it a lot in training camp. They rep it at the start of every practice. They're 2-minute drills, and they botch 2 of them. And either one of them that they convert, they win that game. I like this matchup more against Baltimore than I did against Miami.
Why is that?
I think their Baltimore secondary is easily one of the worst in the league right now, decimated by injuries. The Bills will have no problem putting up points. There isn't necessarily those 2 burners like Miami had, where this offense is Lamar Jackson centered. I think the Bills offensively match up better against this defense than Miami, who didn't want to let anything get over top of them. Yeah. Baltimore is very susceptible to letting balls go over their heads. We saw that in the Miami game. Weather could be a factor. We're hearing conflicting meteorologist reports that it could be a monsoon. We're also hearing it could be no rain from obviously with Hurricane
Ian, sorry.
Hurricane Ian. So if it rains, I think that makes it better for the Ravens, because I think they're better at running the football, and we have seen, I don't need to tell anybody, the Bills aren't good at it.
Yeah, and Josh Allen was even asked about that today. You know, do you need to be more two-dimensional? And he said, essentially, we don't expect it to be perfect. We're working on it, all of those things. I mean, what is he really going to say there?
Exactly.
There's really not much. He was asked, Josh was, about the Ken Dorsey video that everyone's seen. It's been around the world, viral 80 billion times. He said, "You show me a guy that likes losing, I'll tell you he's a loser." I love that.
I couldn't.
You could not care less.
No, about the outrage of
Yes,
why this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And the big thing I go back to, and I always stressed, and I was arguing with Mike the entire way home from Miami, it was the end of the game.
Yeah.
This didn't happen on a second down in the second quarter where he had to call a third down play afterwards. The game was over. He's frustrated that every single one of his players was cramping up, that they were down 3 offensive linemen. And yeah, guess what? You lose players. Coaches lose players' respect when they're fake.
Yeah.
And everything we have heard about Ken Dorsey is that he is a psycho. Like, we did this story during training
You
camp.
did it.
Yeah. Like, do you think that's the first time that the Bills have seen him freak out?
No, what did Mitch Morris say? You see the Holy Spirit come out of him.
So, like, and the awareness of Ken to lean into it and show Josh when he's walking onto the bus going, did you see this? And he goes, oh boy. And he goes, probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
But I go, would it be any different if he did this in the locker room with closed doors?
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't mean that he can't coach this offense. It doesn't make any more of him less of a head coaching candidate. That is who Ken Dorsey is. If you liked him before, you'll like him even more. If you didn't like him before, then this is just another thing you can say you don't like about him.
Yeah, confirmation bias. Either way. You went to the Mike Catalana School of Pontification. Like, I want to add stuff to what you say, but you talk
Keep
for
going.
you talk for long enough that you hit on
lose
all
it.
the points that
And
I
that
was
you
going to
lose
say.
it.
Yeah. So good job.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mike Catalana approved. All right. Please be sure to comment. Let's have what should the comment be, you think?
Seeing Dane Jackson, what is that like for you guys?
For Bills fans,
Yeah.
people out there. Yeah, we'd like you to comment on that. And then, of course, subscribe. We always appreciate it. The channel keeps on growing. It does great stuff for us and for merch. So maybe we'll have that soon. Oh, I also have a big announcement coming up.
No, I'll believe when I see it.
Okay. Wow, what a teaser.
Yeah.
All right, for Dan, I'm Jenna. We'll catch you next time here on Buffalo Plus. Bam, bam.